What does this strange term of sonopsychology mean? Well, it is easily explained. The reader is invited to share some considerations on psychological implications of US examinations before, during, and after these exams, looking at an inner and at an outer scenario. It concerns both examinations of the abdomen and elsewhere. Before looking at details of inner and outer scenario, a few historical reminders are allowed. We see in figure 02 Lazarus Spallanzani, a man living from 1729 to 1799 from Italy, who considered to have found the tool for explaining a really ancient, many million years old, principle of orientation with high-frequency sound waves, ultrasound. He made trials with bats. Starts of medical application were in the 30s, Dussig and Dussig, already then, and echoencephalography was an early result of that. It was followed by trials on several continents, figure 3, for example. The first commercial machine was good old Wiedersohn, figures 4 to 5, which made the machine rapidly spread from gynecologists and obstetrics to urology. Hans Henrik Holm in Copenhagen is to name here, and finally to internal medicine, Rettenmeier in Erlangen, Germany. Ingenious further developments were done, as, for example, indicated by figure 6. And figure 7, it is the early literature to be found. But let us return to the inner and outer scenarios of sonopsychology, and let us point out the most important fact. As shown in figure 8, US without foregoing physical examination is simply worthless. Main actors in inner scenario are the patient, so to say, the weak victim, the machine, and the doctor, bearer of maybe bad news. As shown in figure 09 and figure 10. To start with the machine, figure 9, and as seen from a rationalistic point of view, it has no emotions nor affections. However, in the perception of both the doctor and the patient, the machine maybe is gifted with a sort of a personality as being the main mechanical tool in meeting and answering the questions, the main topic of the examination, and these questions of health and disease, of living and maybe even dying, the question of Hamlet, they might be considered as, so to say, the number 4 actor, as you see in figure 10. The outer scenario are first the attentive relatives and friends, second the better informed so to say, better informed colleagues, and third, open sources of info like internet, etc. Motivations to be with an ultrasound examination are zero for the machine, of course, but manifold and diverse for the patient as well as for the doctor. Spending a span of time together in an esoterically darkened room, figure 11, means for the expectations, wishes and fears of the patient and the doctor only in part the same. Those thoughts and considerations are for the patient: fears of bad findings, erroneous of diagnosis, wrong therapeutic consequences. And he is, like in figure 12, observing the doctor bright-eyed and bushy-tailed from an inferior position. And for the doctor, it means must be experienced and well educated, having a high level of pre-information, moreover fears to overlook something and fears of inadequate reaction. Anyhow, the doctor is always in a superior position, as indicated by figure 12. The doctor, interpreter of findings and diagnostician, must make best use of a limited span of time in getting an idea of the patient's problems, history, and personality. Patients must be addressed on an appropriate level of language and intellectuality, which likely is the most fascinating aspect at all in working in the medical field. The doctor should meet all these requirements clearly, friendly, indefatigably, and completely, and he should never behave as indicated in figures 14 and 70. Never do so. Looking into the body without cutting is, of course, appreciated by the patients. Occult handlings, including cold jelly on undressed skin, commands from the examiner, mysteriously moving gray and even colored pictures, and strange Doppler sounds in a dark room, all this is not so far away from a shamanic behavior of the examining doctor communicating with supernatural forces via the competently ruled machine, as indicated in figure 17. Moreover, the doctor, being capable of his role of interpreter and medium, is close up, touching the patient, both manually and in a more figurative sense, exposing him or her directly and without restraint or escapement. A positive overall atmosphere is recommended strictly, as shown in figures 16 to 18. And he or she must always remind as an examiner the fact that this non-verbal communications, and especially his or her face, are under most attentive and maybe anxious observance or in doubt. For example, finding a mass suspicious of malignancy, a poker face concentration is needed for the examiner. For the doctor, ultrasound examination is routine work, The patient, however, experiencing the examination as a special event in their life will repeatedly recall all its details to the memory and re-evaluation, as indicated in Figure 18. All this means, in an attempt to summarize the scenarios, that ultrasound examination is loaded with a strong magic component in the triangular relationship of patient, doctor, and machine, so an ultrasound examination can be sort of a movie equivalent, harboring both comedy and drama options. A last word to outer scenario again, concerning sonophilia, sonophobia, and others. Both the tolerant and the militant sonophobics, a still widespread species, feel better and relieved by ordering a CT or MR scan, which saves them from own responsibility too, and filling in the template for ordering such examines is a matter of seconds only. On the contrary, ultrasound means challenging work, direct exposure to a non-sedated patient, and a high degree of personal responsibility with no personalized, e.g. financial, benefits for the examiner. In abdominal scanning, where most, let's say 80% of CT and MR scanning is made superfluous, sonophobia is even found with a gastroenterologist of the merely endoscopist type, an attitude which makes these gastroenterologists less than one-eyed and more than half-blind in GI disease. Their view is limited to the mucosa perspective of the GI tunnel. They voluntarily avoid the rich information of abdominal and especially of intestinal sonography. The sonophilics, having gone through all these considerations, are met with appreciation and thankfulness, and comments and criticism are welcome, as well as addenda and completion. We know that ultrasonography is to be praised as a not yet fully detected jewel in practicing a doctor's work, extending palpation, auscultation, and the knowledge of the patient history in an immediate and wholesome approach for quick further decision-making. As you see in Figure 20, we could hopefully offer some aspects of sonopsychology.